guys, it's me Jenny and it's another time for another commentary. Woo! Drum roll. Continuing on my let's answer 5 to 6 videos at a time trend of commentaries, I've gone back to my previous lot of unanswered comments on my videos and I've selected 5 videos and so I'm catching up. So we're now in about April, so there is quite a backlog, but there's going to be sorry, I always forget to start with the commentary interview. I am so great at this, it's not like I've been doing it for years. So commentary, hey! For those of you who don't know what that is, and the reason why I'm shooting on my shitty web camera is because I basically go through a selection of videos from my past things. So theoretically, when I first started doing commentaries, it was the last week of videos. And then I'd, wait a week and then do the previous week and so on and so forth. At the moment, I'm on a backlog of several months of videos. So there we go. And I answer pretty much all the comments unless they're offensive or spam. Hey, and then I talk about those comments, so we turn it into a conversation. And it's kind of recently it's been my sort of equivalent to live YouTube streaming, because I wouldn't be able to do live YouTube streaming because with that I don't think, given time zone differences and those sort of things, that I could get enough people together at an unset time, because there's no way that I could physically set a time that I could actually do regular streams. I just don't have that much of a fixed schedule at the moment. There isn't a time I could be like, Fridays at 12:30 British summertime, come see me. There is no way I could do that, and also there is no way that I could get an audience worth actually being able to make a conversation with. I don't think anyone would watch me live on YouTube enough for me to actually be able to be like, let's have a conversation with you in real time, because I don't think I could collaborate enough with you for a designated amount of time. So I do this instead, which is my answer to that, where you guys have all the time in the world to comment, and then I respond in my own time. And there's going to be 2 points of disconnect with this particular set of comments, because usually I try and answer the comments as quickly as possible and then get this video up online as quickly as possible, so you have my verbal response almost as soon as you have my text-based response. However, this is me trying to get ahead, and I've got a ridiculously busy week. I'm working some preposterous hours. I will be barely home and I will not be able to have access to my laptop, so I'm filming this in advance. So I actually have the entire next week of videos from today's date prepped. I have my Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos already prepped, and this will be my Friday video for next week. So with that in mind, there's going to be a point of disconnect because people haven't, people responded to my video and typed comments in April, May sort of time. And I'm responding to them now, so they're going to be like, oh, what? She's responding now? And B, it's going to be a whole nother week before this video goes online. So I am sorry if you guys are confused. I do usually try and get it pretty snappishly up, but I literally won't have time this week to keep up with the videos, so that's why this is filmed in advance. That's why it's weird timing. I'm sorry, I've already talked for 4 minutes. Which brings me on to the point why I film on my shitty web camera. Oh, I'm so good at these nice concise introductions. Shitty web camera is because I tend to ramble. Point and evidence. Hi. I'm surprised you can even see me today because it's cold in here. So I've got my duvet up around my chin. I've got my duvet matches my curtain, because that's, like, I bought this duvet cover and I was like, it's so pretty. So when I was redesigning my room, I was like, can I get curtains that match my duvet cover? Yes, I can. Will I get walls that match my curtains? Yes. Oh, it's so exciting. So I'm pretty well camouflaged. I'm surprised you can even see I'm here. But there we go. So, commentaries. Shitty web camera, shitty audio because I ramble. I type to all of your comments and then I verbally respond to them. I've got 5 and I have done the responsey video things. So, going back to laptop less multi-vlog thingy, aka where I've been, from April 24th. So this week I was ill, I had a cold, and my laptop had finally died, and so I was waiting for it to be repaired, which it is, and it's lovely, and it's still functioning, even though I really, really need to defrag it and get rid of some files, because I film a lot of videos, and like with editing and compression, there's usually 2 copies of each video on my computer at all times. So if it's a 4-minute video, that's a lot of data. Plus the fact that then I have a compressed version of it, which is like, say, 2.5 gigs or whatever, 2.5 worth of compression. And then, like, I'm bad with technological speech. I'm not good with the technology speech. But basically I have the original file, which is usually quite large, the compressed file, which is about half the size but still pretty large, and then maybe if I have an edit on top of that, they have sometimes 3 copies of a video, and I have been doing a lot more edited videos, so my laptop's getting pretty full at the moment. So I need to do some maintenance to keep my baby safe, so I don't end up with another week of I miss my baby. Anyway, more to the point, I was sick and I had no laptop, so Threshold of Dave, hey, another old schooler, says take care of yourself. I did. I am better. That was I seem to remember it was a pretty. I think that was a D&D session where I literally spent my entire time being like. It was gross. It was like literally just diabolical. I got like 3 people in my party sick. I was just like the plague. It was quite a bad cold. It was really annoying because it wasn't like bad enough for me to go off sick. I didn't go off sick. But it was just one of those ones where I'm just like, I am constantly snotting everywhere and it won't go away. Red Sky Blackbird says TV is awful. Ads run every 10 minutes for 5 minutes and you are forced to watch what TV channels offers. Yes, I 100% agree. During this time without a laptop, I was forced. No, I wasn't forced. I chose to try and rediscover TV. Bad decision. Not worth doing for a lot of things. Netflix is so good without adverts. Oh my god. So yeah, very well said. Red Sky Blackbird. Torsey says, you rock that blue scarf outfit. Woo! Lighting was perfect. Your eyes awesome. Take care of yourself. Thank you. I did take care of myself. It's amazing how much, better people look in daylight. You'll find that I do a lot of filming with, internal lighting, and part of the reason why I repainted my bedroom to be pale is to make the best out of my indoor lighting. I don't have any, proper camera lights. This is something I do, but it's not something that I'm ever going to do professionally. I have a half-decent camera, I have a crappy web camera, and I have the lighting that I have in my room. And I've designed my room to be as bright as possible, mostly because it's a teeny tiny room, and also because before it was purple, so I made it kind of dim, so it's one of those things I've always wanted to brighten up my room a bit anyway, and if that happens to make my videos slightly better, then that's a plus. But I don't have any professional lighting rigs, so daylight is much better. It does bring out the colour in my eyes, it makes me look just better overall. I'd say the thing with living in England is when you get to this time of year, it's not so bad at the moment. We're about halfway through September at the moment, so I'm filming this on September 8th. This won't go up until next week, but there we go. So at the moment it's getting pretty gloomy. Sunrise is around 7 AM, or like actual lights in the sky is around 7 AM, where you can actually wander around outdoors without it being really grim and gloomy. At the moment, probably by the time this video is up, it will be more like 7:15 in the morning, and sunset is I think around 6 or 5:30ish. That will adjust when we move out of British summertime and into Greenwich Mean Time. At the moment, we're still in British summertime. So during the winter, it's pretty much dark from about 7:30 in the morning till pretty much only light from 7:30 till about 4:30. It gets really dark in the evenings, so I have to rely a lot of the time on electric, non-natural light, because in this winter it's so rare that you can get daylight, at least with my job and with my kind of day-to-day life. At the moment, if I'm on an early shift at work, I come in before the sunrise, and I leave work. I usually get home just about when it's starting to get gloomy, so it's not quite that bad yet, but it's going to happen pretty soon. So it's amazing what daylight can do. I dread to think how long this video is going to be. It's going to be so long. KSJ Hawker 94 says, this was like an epic movie. Cue deep announcer voice. in a land ravaged by disease and cut off from the online world. Our weakened hero struggles to find her Easter eggs and slay her paperwork demon to finally recover her magical laptop. All it needs was a Stanley cameo. Sorry, that was a bad commentator voice, but thank you. You make my life sound a lot more interesting than it actually is. Hey. On my Trisha Hirschberger's Naked Truth response on the Adpocalypse, I don't know what I said in this video, but the only thing I got was 1 dislike. So thank you guys. Good support there. But yeah, it's nice to actually have some dislike videos and make me prove that the internet is still functioning. Let's see, KSJ Hawker 94, again, hello KSJ, says, he would be disappointed if I ever did a short video, I assume. If ever did a short video, I'm assuming that was if you ever did a short video. And would gladly sit through another Guardians of the Galaxy ad waiting for it, ha ha ha, because, you know, ad block. But he can't wait for that movie, woo, it was a good movie, it was very entertaining. I can't remember if I did get weepy. I think I did get a little bit like salty-eyed. There we go. And have gotten used to the ads and pushed the skip by this ad as a reflex. As I said, I usually use adblock. I don't have adblock on my phone, and with my lovely shiny new phone, I do have an issue with it in that I'm not used to pressing the skip ads. So I'll be like, I swear this isn't the video I clicked on when I'm just listening to it. I swear this isn't. Oh, it's an ad. Great. So yeah, I'm paying my dues now, I guess. I'm just not used to the muscle memory of it all. Okay, so this is a biggie. In fact, I wasn't actually going to text respond to this. I was just going to do the verbal response because there was a lot of comments on this video. But then I decided to do both anyway because I am a suckler for pain and suffering. So, SourceFed Nerd Takeover Reaction, Goodbye with Love, Not My Nerd, Class Librarian video. This was very well received actually. We got over 50 likes. This is from May 4th. May the 4th be with you. In fact, the day when they released the video about Star Wars on Not This Nerd, or Now This Nerd, which garnered so much hatred. So I got some very interesting responses to this video actually. Tours Times, in fact I'll just go over the brief. There were some people who were very angry and said that I should have been more angry. There were some people who praised me for my clarity. There are some people who, like, I had a lot of mixed feelings about SourceFed Nerd going down. I think I said them quite clearly in that video, but I think I need to emphasize some other stuff, which in fact I agree with absolutely everyone in the chat. Even though there were some very mixed reactions, I actually agree with every single person. I was really shocked by that fact, in fact. So going through them, Tours Time says, dang, she didn't know that all this was going on. Thanks for making this video. She feels like I just laid down the most polite smackdown she's ever heard. Thumbs up, which makes me think that maybe I should do polite smackdowns as like a segment, or just find something to be like, I disapprove. I think that this work was done poorly, and maybe next time you should do this. And moving on. Lisa J says she was so insulted about what happened to the Nerd channel. Never thought that I would look to have unsubscribed from it, but I did. I could not support the move from whoever took over. So again, I agree with that. Like, it is the thing that hurt about the SourceFed Nerd takeover was the fact that they fired people in such a abrupt manner and then took it over in such an abrupt manner. And, you know, the actual thing that physically is wrong is the firing of people with such a short notice. And then, you know, the change of content is just salt in the wound at this point. The thing that was really, really wrong was the fact that they fired people without due notice, and then did what was primarily the same thing. So yeah, I really understand how people personally can be insulted, and again, I agree 100%. Backton said, what was so upsetting to me is that they have publicly made available the anime videos that were previously privated. This means that our faces are not, our faces, not just the host faces, are being used for their views. I didn't give Now This Nerd consent to use my face for their goals. I gave SourceFed Nerd permission to use my likeness. I get the business aspects of rebranding, but I almost prefer the videos not to be there if they contains yours, my face, or other movie clubbers such anime clubbers that have spent time into their submissions. But that's just strictly me though, not my nerd. So that's actually a really, really interesting comment that Baxon, aka Dominic, brought up. It's really a very interesting point. I haven't actually gone through the SourceFed Nerd. It has returned to SourceFed Nerd now. It's been a good couple of months, and they have returned it to the branding and left it as a memoriam channel, and they've decided to move now this nerd onto their own independent channel, which produces reasonable content, which is what they should have done from the beginning. But it wasn't something that I'd considered, the fact that they have made public the anime videos again, because my face and other movie covers and anime faces are now public, and the money from that is going to now this nerd and not SourceFed Nerd. And obviously, when you purchase something, that means that you own the rights to those things, but if you're looking at this from a personal standpoint, we have personally given our investment, our faces, our opinions to SourceFed Nerd, not now this nerd. So it's a very interesting double-edged sword there. I think, obviously we as creators never signed up to take any money, and I think that's where the difference would be, is if us as movie clubbers actually did get promotional value other than our faces being seen. I don't think they deliberately also changed our usernames, so we're not getting any physical credit. So we're not credited in the same way that we should, we would be if we were getting money, and we haven't been receiving any money. So technically, they're only taking our likenesses, which we did give consent to at the time. But I think it is a deeper issue. I think if there was a different if there was any sort of contract in place, it would be a much more complicated issue. And I think the implication is very interesting, and something that hasn't really been discussed. I haven't seen it discussed by any other movie clubbers. It is something that I would like to look into more about. What actual rights do you have to your face and your opinions once you've given it to someone else? I haven't actually looked through the archives of SourceFed Nerd yet to see which videos have been made public and which ones haven't. But it's something that I would like to look into. It's a very, very interesting point that you bring up there, Dominic Baxon. So yeah, if you hadn't thought about it, that's something to chew over, to mull over in your brains, because that was an interesting thought that I hadn't thought of at all. The Grizzle Geek says, a company that has a right to buy a brand and has a right to buy a brand and reimagine it. However, if you have a complete turnover, you need to come out with a superior product. As far as this case, not my nerd. So that is very well said, and that is a pretty, if you're going to take over and rebrand, you do need to come up with a superior product if it's something that its quality is its product. I think from a business standpoint, I feel like now this nerd is more financially viable from a behind the scenes perspective than SourceFed Nerd was, and I think that's the reason why it happened. That's my opinion based on no evidence that I have. I feel like SourceFed Nerd was a relatively expensive production, and now this nerd is a very low cost production, comparatively. But I do feel like because of that, in a way, it should have been always put on another channel. It shouldn't have been working off the backbone of SourceFed Nerd. And it isn't a superior product. It's exactly what you say. It is not a superior product to what SourceFed Nerd was producing at the time. So I do feel like you have a very, very good, clear point there. Junk Draw Videos, aka Adam, says he's sorry, but he couldn't disagree more. This is a bad thing, and he's angry about it. I'm not angry because I feel entitled to dictate how a company should choose to entertain me. I'm angry because there are people losing their jobs when they clearly shouldn't have. It is one thing to say having SourceFed Nerd around is not financially possible. It is another thing to say that then turn around and hire a bunch of new people to do exactly the same job. If the company lays off workers because they do not have enough demand, that's a very bitter pill to swallow. But no one can really blame the company. If they lay off their workers and then hire an entire new group of people to do the same work, then it is a different story. So yeah, this again is one of the parts of the video that I'm not sure I explained properly, and I just re-mentioned that in my previous comment. I do think that SourceFed Nerd was a more expensive production than Now This Nerd. For one thing, the cast is a lot smaller. They don't have any extensive sets. They don't have a huge number of writers, it seems. So I think they've really, really reduced production. At the point where I stopped really investing in SourceFed Nerd, I think they had 2 or 3 cameramen, 1 or 2 editors, 1 or 2 production managers, 6 personalities, and a couple of other people that probably ran around doing other things. Now, at that point, you're up to a cast and production value of at least 10 to 15 people, just on wages alone, not counting sets, production costs, all of those sort of things. Now, I do think that that is more expensive than what Now This Nerd produces, which is, I think they have 3, I've only watched a couple of their videos, I think they have 3 personalities. They probably only have 1 cameraman. And they only have maybe 1 or 2 people behind the scenes because it's very limited editing, and it's possible that those personalities are also the ones that edit. And my theory, again, this is not backed up by any evidence, my theory is that when you're going to drop the production down by that much, if you were to say to the cast of SourceFed Nerd, look, we're laying off 3 editors, 2 cameramen, and half of your personalities, we're going to really, really drop down costs, so half of you have got to go. I think the other half of SourceFed Nerd, if they heard that, would be like, nah, I'm out. I'm not sticking around if you're going to throw away half of the production. Half of the production crew and cast. So I think I still don't agree with it. I am embittered and I am frustrated with the fact that they fired the entire cast and then basically seemingly did the same thing. But that's my theory. My theory behind it is SourceFed Nerd had a very large production, and if they fired half the cast, the other half would have said, F you, I'm going. So there was no way of saving face in that turnover. What would have been better is if they'd given notice. I think the one saving grace would have been if Now This Nerd had said, look, you've got a full 2 months. That means that each of you can have a sign-off, each of you can have a chance to find your next jobs, you can set up your own channels, you can promote it from this channel. You can say, look, this channel's shutting down, but me, Sam Basher, I'm doing this on my channel, isn't this exciting? This is an example of the show that I'm going to do, this is the people that I'm going to be doing it with. All of those sort of things, rather than such a fast turnover. I think that's what I'm angry about. What I'm angry about is the fact that it was such a shockingly quick turnover. And then obviously, again, SourceFed, Now This Nerd should have started from a baseline. It's all well and good buying out a company and starting lower production, but not off the same channel. I think that was wrong as well. Rebranding what wasn't theirs is wrong. But from a production standpoint, I just don't think, yeah. So that's all my things. Again, the trouble is I agree with every comment. Genuinely, it's so hard to, words are such an incomplete concept of emotions when it comes to this story. And this is quite a long time ago. This is, as I said, April, and we're in September, May, so this is 4 months ago, 4 months ago. So there is a point of separation. Now This Nerd has apologised, they have separated, they have moved away, and they have started doing their own thing, which they should have done from the beginning. But here we are. So yeah, I think it would have been a very bitter pill to swallow, and I think the only way they could have saved face initially would have been to say this is why. You know, we can't afford it anymore. If we said we'd fire half the company, then the other half would have gone on bad graces, so we decided to get rid of all of them in one sweep. There are much better ways of doing that. But there we go. Words, stuffs, things. This video is going to be so long. Let's have a look. Actually only 24 minutes. That's pretty good for me on commentaries. We still got another couple of videos to go, but there we go. Joe Pegram says, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry. I remember you from years ago on SourceFed, and I'm happy someone is giving a calm review of what occurred. So again, this is the one thing that I got real different opinions on. I got people who were saying you should have been more angry, you should have been more aggressive. I've got people saying, thank God you were calm. So here we go. I'm happy someone is giving a calm review of what happened. As a fellow person from England, I thank you for that. But I have to say, I don't think I could ever be so brave as to suppress anger for this emotionless act that someone in production has made pretty much spit on the grave, which was the channel which we all knew and loved. And yeah, there was a reasonable amount of rage that I suppressed, and there was a reasonable amount of things that I justified. So there we go. I half justified, half empathized with both sides of the coin, and that's one of the things that I have issues with, is because for years of being maybe not the most pleasantly treated person in school, I became a bit of a hyper empath. So as soon as I see something wrong happening, I immediately go, but what's the other side? Maybe they're being bullied at home. And immediately my thought process when now that this nerd happened on SourceFed Nerd, I went from my immediate emotion of, oh God, what have they done? I'm so angry, to, but why? But why? Why are they doing this? What happened? What caused this change? And again, I really, it's one of, I don't know whether or not it's a flaw or a good thing now. I really don't know if being a hyper sit there on the fence person is a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something that I do automatically now. It's the, but why do they see it from that side mentality? And sometimes I forget that. Truly, sometimes I'm awful at it, but in this case I immediately thought, but why? So I see both sides, and I think, again, now this nerd are in the wrong. Let's just clearly state that. Now this nerd are in the wrong for what they did to SourceFed Nerd. But I can understand their motivations. Moving on to Grant Jones, who says, poor old SourceFed. It went from what was possibly the most single non-corporate, in presentation at least, channel, to a sudden market death, rising from its ashes, yet another homogeneous corporation zombie. Wow! I do like homogeneous. I'm tired. That's my excuse for everything, and I'm going to stop doing it. Corporate zombie. It's a shame how it was done. Again, very well said. Very well said, Grant Jones. Megsy says, I remember you from the SourceFed movie shows. Thank you, Megsy. I'm glad that I made an impression, hopefully for the good, not for the bad. Oh, fingers crossed. Okay. HCM9999 says, am I the only one who's glad SourceFed is over? He didn't like Sam Basher or Steve Zaragoza. They were not funny, they were too self-indulging. Instead of focusing on the news, they would interrupt all the time and tell unfunny jokes. Nerdist presented by Jessica Chobot is much better. The No by Ashley Jenkins is also very good. They usually focus on the teleprompter and only occasionally tell some jokes. And again, I agree with this comment. The reason why I wasn't watching SourceFed Nerd towards the end of its life was because I was watching Jessica Chobot on Nerdist, and I was watching The No and Ashley Jenkins and Meg Turney as was on that show. And of the cast and crew of SourceFed Nerd, the ones who I really loved and the ones who I enjoyed had mostly left. I was following Trisha Hirschberger on other content. I was following Maud on other content, and Raina, and Meg, and, Joe, as and when he came along, occasionally spotting Elliot on other things. The ones that had stayed were the ones that I weren't so interested in, personally. There were ones that, I wouldn't mind saying hello to at a convention, but I wouldn't necessarily invite for a cup of tea, while those ones that had left, the ones that I just mentioned, I would 100% be like, hey, do you want to go for a drink sometime? Platonically, just chill out. You seem awesome. I wouldn't like, I'd love to watch a movie with Trisha Hirschberger. I think we could sit down and watch a silly film and have fun and share a bottle of red wine. While when it comes to Steve Zaragoza, I don't think I would enjoy the movie watching experience so much with him. That's just an example of a personality clash. And when it came to the presentation of news, I did find SourceFed Nerd and Nerdist, not SourceFed Nerd, Nerdist and and The Know much more informative, much better breakdowns of actually what was happening. I'm also a follower of Geek Tyrant. I'm also a follower of, obviously, Trisha Hirschberger does a lot of geek and tech news as well. So a lot of stuff that the fields that I'm interested in are covered much more streamlined and much more focused on other channels. And so that was part of the reasons why I'd really stopped being so interested in SourceFed Nerd. D&D, again, I did enjoy the D&D show, which now Maud does independently, Fungeons and Flagons, which I'm halfway through an episode now anyway. I do enjoy that, but Critical Role is, for me, a more complete experience. So I do understand, had it been a cleaner sign-off, as I said, my example of if they'd been given a month so that they knew what was shutting down, they could slowly, for each person, they could do a sign-off video, as in, this is my experience personally, this is what I'm doing next, this is what I'm interested in, here's where I'm going, this is what I'm doing on my private channel, those sort of things. If they'd done that and then shut it down, and then, again, what I said, I think in this video here, I said if SourceFed Nerd had promoted Now This Nerd as a sister channel during a month of slowly sliding off, then Now This Nerd would be in a much stronger position, and SourceFed would have had a clean, friendly sign off. And that is what they should have done, and that's not what they did. So hindsight is 2020. And if they'd done that, then there wouldn't be so much butthurt over SourceFed Nerd. There wouldn't be so much emotional resonance. And yeah, so the people like me who'd kind of fallen out of the current standard but love the intention and love the previous hosts wouldn't have felt so hurt. There we go. Moving on to KSJ Hawker 94 says, yeah, he doesn't like change, especially these darn pennies, practically worthless, and whenever I find one, it's bad luck, lying face down, they should all be destroyed. I have hiccups, if you haven't worked that out. I have hiccups. This is great for a long form video, just swell. Yes, that's a good metaphor, I guess, for change. Darn pennies, anger, pennies, something. I didn't know that when pennies are lying face down, that's bad luck. I was having a discussion with one of my colleagues. She's Italian, and we had the discussion about what constitutes good and bad luck, because one of the luck things that I've never really believed in is things to do with numbers. Like, I'm never focused on the concept of unlucky numbers, because they're numbers, they're not like physical choices. So I've never really kind of empathized with that concept of luck. Black cats is one of those things that when I talk about black cats in different cultures, people have different opinions. For me, I was always taught black cat crosses your path, it's lucky. And I know a lot of people think it's the other way around. And things like the luck concepts that I like are the ones that actually have a doctrine of just basic common sense. Don't walk under ladders, because something could drop on your head. Like, that's it. It's nothing to do with the, walking through a triangle and breaking that line. No, if someone drops a bucket on your head, you could get concussed or you could die. So just don't do it. Walk around. It's simple. Like, putting shoes on a table is bad luck because it's dirty and unhygienic and unnecessary, so why do it? So those sort of bad luck things I get. Whenever you find a coin facing down, I didn't know that was a bad luck thing. I in my find a penny, pick it up all the day, you'll have good luck is something that was brought up with. So I think that's from the concept that every little helps. You find a penny, it's lucky, you can buy a penny sweet. But I've never heard that it's bad luck if you pick it up face down. But good to know, different cultures, different times. Whew! Janelle Smile! Woo, Janelle! One of the old school movie clubbers says, although I'm upset, I will forever be grateful that I was able to be part of a community that also found a love for collaborating with each other. It's it is very unpleasant to see the hard work diminish so quickly in 5 weeks. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the most concise and true to my opinion summaries of this whole situation. The fact that Janelle, who is an old movie clubber, a lot of the people who comment in this video are old movie clubbers. The fact that SourceFed helped foster this community of people who've collaborated with each other, who are still friends, who's like formed communities based on their channel, only for it to be shut down in such a short period of time is really kind of sad. Oh, sorry, one sec. Hips. Ooh, there we go. It's really sad, and is really frustrating for the old schoolers. But I am forever grateful for the fact that now this is part of my life. I talk to a camera for fun. I get nothing out of it except for apparently it must be good for my psyche because I still do it. And you know, I get to know people from all over the world and have conversations with them and fun. Even if I can't see them every day, I still know that there are people out there who are like-minded and clever and just nice people. And it's given me a wider perspective on the world. And I'll be forever happy with that and grateful. James Burnett TV says he was an old school movie clubber, like Totally Awesome into SourceFed Movie Club. He loved the host. I loved the host and was always entertained. Why people had to lose their jobs when it was rebranded makes me furious. And this is a very similar reaction to Junk Drawer videos. Up top, it's the, that visceral, like, anger that I can understand. I really do. And it's my fault for being a hyper empath, and I'm sorry that I couldn't conjure that rage. But again, other people really liked that I didn't, so there we go. Mr. Killer Bunny 1981 says, yeah, I remember you from what I think were the comments on books and movies on the show. You stood out. Thank you for making these. Thank you for responding to it. And thank you for remembering me. And I think I sat down for most of them, but thank you for saying I stood out. Sleven7CCX says, I remember you. You used to be added to the movie club and anime club. Thank you, and I did. Zachary M says he woke up and saw a new video. Thought maybe they'd realised their mistake. Nope, just resulted in my heart breaking. I think the true SourceFed nerds will enjoy this 5-second video about the change. And I think that's a video of The Rock saying, it doesn't matter what your name is. So yeah, again, the rage response is very true and very necessary for a lot of people to get that kind of catharsis out of the frustration of what happened with the channel. Fortunately, the only thing that has come out of it that is really good is the fact that most of the hosts, most of the cast, and most of the production crew have gone on and are still now employed doing things that are different. Maybe not from all one harbour, but they're still employed and they're still in the industry and they're still okay as far as I can tell from the videos that have been produced. Which is the main thing, is that the cast and the crew continued to thrive. And the other thing is that now this nerd has actually relinquished the title SourceFed Nerd and put it back up, and they've gone back to what they should have done originally. So hindsight is 2020. They knew they made a mistake. They tried to correct it. A little too late, but they tried. So it's all very good having the catharsis. This is 3 months later. I don't know how much the pain is still burning for people. I'll be interested to know actually. How do you feel 3 months later, after the rebranding has changed, now that people are definitely doing okay in their prospective second and third jobs? Let me know in the comments, how are you guys feeling about SourceFed Nerd? And now this nerd and that whole situation, has the pain worn off? Do you feel a little satiated, or is it still painful to think about? I'd like to know how the mourning process is going for you guys, because that's really interesting to me. Whew. Jonathan Mack says, was an old SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd subber and heard all the commotion about SourceFed Nerd. I started looking for SourceFed Nerd news and stumbled onto this. Can't believe it's been 4 years since first seeing you on featured on Movie Club. As someone who has left the community a while ago, as one moves on in life and other things, it's still upsetting to hear the news about it. What made Sourcepaid Nerd unique was his ability to engage with the community, grow and evolve with the fans. You're definitely right that people watch the channel not only for its content but also for its hosts, especially in the harsh world of YouTube. And on this note, kudos to you for all the videos from the 4 years ago till now. It was entertaining when you were featured back in the movie club days. Well, thank you, Jonathan Mack. You are a very sweet person. Thank you for that. I put the effort in over the 4 years. It's been a lot of content in that time. And thank you for remembering me. Yeah, it is a sad situation. But hopefully it's come to the best possible conclusion given the point that it was at 4 months ago. So there we go. Zeal480 says, well said, I remember you from the Anime Club videos. Thank you, Zeal. I'm surprised how many people remembered me. I was quite shocked, actually, by the number of people who were like, I know you. I wasn't expecting that in the slightest, but thank you, nonetheless. Anyway, moving on to a chill day off video. So this was from April 1st, 2017. KSJ Hawk. So this was me just chilling on my day off, having some gin, enjoying the weather, etc., etc. And I asked, I think, what you do on your chill days off, because I know a lot of people like me rarely get weekends where they can relax. So KSJ Hawk 94 says, no worries, you look like Jenny. I think I said something along the lines of, I was very bright in the sunlight because I was outdoors. Consider yourself lucky. I think we've entered the spring monsoon season here in the central US with clouds and rain being as likely as not. As for me, making a batch of beef stew and watching some college baseball finals this weekend. Good job. I hope you enjoyed it. This was months ago, so I hope you have enjoyed food since. And I hope the monsoon season hasn't treated you too badly. The weather and the state of various tornadoes and hurricanes and tsunamis across the world right now is absolutely terrifying. Especially in the unprepared areas, the ones that aren't so industrialized and prepped for things like earthquakes and tsunamis and hurricanes. So my heart goes out to anyone who is being evacuated, who has suffered any losses. The amount of damage that has happened in the last week or two of just full-blown weather carnage is horrifying. The infrastructure damage is shocking. The amount of lives that have been wrecked in the whole areas across that side of the world is horrifying. And you know, I don't know what more I can do for people in Harvey, from like Edna, Harvey, and I think there's 2 other current tropical storms that are roaming through the United States areas currently. So my heart goes out to anyone who's suffering. I know they probably won't watch this video, at least not 42 minutes in. 42 minutes! Oh my god. Yeah, so my heart goes out to them. So yeah, just the mention of monsoon reminded me of that. So there we go. Nathan Lyle Official says, when he has an entire weekend to himself, he hides in his hermit hole and orders pizza and writes stories. That sounds like a good weekend. So good. Pizza and stories. There's very few things better than that in the world. Big Virgo Tube says, Big Virgo Tube says, your hair is quite cut up. So I don't know whether or not that means like it's actually quite cut up, because it was after a haircut, although my fringe has grown a lot since then. It's a good couple of inches longer now. I don't know whether or not he's talking about my hair being cut up, or whether or not he means quite cute up, and there was a typo. I don't know. I tend to wear my hair down in videos because I don't like how it looks on film up, even though I really do prefer how it looks up in real life. It's one of those weird differences between cameras and real life. I really like, I look in the mirror with my hair up and I think, oh, that looks nice. I look at the mirror, I look in the camera lens, and I think, oh, maybe I'll put my hair down. But thank you. That's the main reason why I wear my hair down in videos. But you know, my hair changes a lot. It's up, down, strange, charm, top, bottom. If you don't know what a quack is, it don't matter. You still got them. Lift-ons and built-ons and listen. I was singing that to one of my colleagues and she looked at me like I was having a stroke. moving on. Big Virgo Tube continues. He's doing some stop motion Lego shorts, reading up on some things, and pretty much living in harmony with human race. Harmony. That's not what my voice does. My voice is not harmonious. But it sounds very fabulous. Scott B says, I'm glad you're having a relaxed weekend. He's jealous. Still waiting for spring to sprung here in Seattle, Washington. So I hope spring has sprung and summer has sprung, and so far the beginning of autumn's not getting you too down. Whew. Gallifrey Injustice says, I think it would be fun to do an international D&D group. Anyone? Skype or Google Hangout? What do you think, Jenny? By the way, he's never played, but has wanted to ever since he found out about it. I'm just not around people who are interested. And this is something that I've been talking about for so long, the concept of an online D&D group. And the thing that's always blocking me is there's a magic you get when you're sat around a table with people, which I know is such a cop-out because the whole point of this whole conversation is to have a D&D game with people who aren't around the table with you, to interact with people that you don't often see. But there is a magic to it when you're sat around opposite each other, when you can read body language and you can check dice fumbles, you can see the map in front of you. There are ways of going around this, but you can't capture that atmosphere. Like with cameras, you lose quite a lot of the interaction. And you can't have things like people whispering behind your head for tense moments. You can't do music in the same sort of way. There must be ways of doing it, and I have looked into options. I've looked into, while experimenting on Project Chronicle with different forms of video chat, I've considered the options of what would be best and what would be worse in terms of screen sharing, for things like maps, in terms of interactions, in terms of natural flow of voice interactions, because things like, I think Google Hangouts one of the worst ones for doing this thing where if you try and talk over each other, it'll try and auto-correct volumes. So if one person tries to talk over the other, they'll kind of reduce the volume on one and up the volume on the other, so one of them has precedent, which is not how natural conversation works. When you're having a natural conversation with someone, you talk over each other, you interrupt, there's a flow of dialogue. So other ones, like I think Rabbit is one of the better ones. There's a couple of other ones that I've tried with Project Chronicle, which are slightly better with not allowing that sort of pitch change to happen. And it's something I'm really considering, but if I were to do it, it would be people that I already know and I trust, because it's going to be such a stretch in terms of an emotional exercise as is, let alone doing it with strangers. But it's something that I am working on. It would be so good to do, and I miss DMing and I miss playing as much as I do, because at the moment the only game I can participate in with the hours that I'm working is our once a month home game, and it's really hard only playing once a month. And that's if I can actually make those once a month sessions. I'm so busy at the moment, I've only been able to make a couple. So I'm constantly missing out on big arcs of storyline. I missed one of our hometowns being blown up in a Resident Evil style explosion, and I missed that, and I don't know what happened. So there's a lot of things that, like, my character was there for, but I wasn't, so I feel like I'm slightly disconnected from the world. So it would be nice to maybe do an online thing, because that also accommodates a little bit more for people who are in different time zones, and therefore, or people who are in difficult work schedules. And yeah, I don't know. I'm working on it. On my way to gin evening now, says Simon Burnett. So you're not alone, woo, because gin is good. It was beautiful here in merry old England. Merry old England. Yep, high five, Simon. Okay, we're nearly there. We'll see whether or not we can keep this under an hour. Oh God. Anyone who watches these you're amazing numpties. I'm just gonna say it. So on to Treasure Hashburger's Naked Truth response on talking about sex. And this is from April 24th. So KSJ Hawker says, glad to hear you practice safe banana storage, wrapping them in latex. Well, better safe than sorry, and it's always good practice. Trisha Ashberger, yay, says, I totally get not wanting to share your personal details with the internet, whether it's about sex or any topic really. Everyone gets a line, and everyone's got a line, and that's perfectly wonderful. Thanks as always for your naked truth. Thanks as always, Trisha, for bringing up a subject which is something challenging to talk about, but I think does need to be talked about. And that's one of the magics of Naked Truths, is subjects that often get brought up are the ones that are the hardest and the most personal to talk about, and are the ones, therefore, that should be talked about. There should be more discussion on the more difficult topics, because the reason why they're difficult and the reason why they're rarely talked about is because they're difficult. So therefore they need to be discussed more to make it less hard. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there we go. Micah Lee, girl Micah, how lovely, says, I'm totally with you on the privacy thing. I'm okay with talking about sex on the internet, just on the topic, but I don't want to be sharing my personal stories. It's a balance. Great video. Thank you, Micah. And yeah, that's pretty much what I said in the video, is that, you know, I'm very happy to talk about the nuts and bolts, the biology, the general experience. But I'm not going to be talking about my personal experiences. I'm not going to be talking about exactly my nuts and bolts. I can talk about the general, odds and ends to it, but I'm not going to be bringing up details of my personal experiences, because that's my moments. Those are my personal times. But there we go. And last, but certainly not least, Jared Graham says, no worries, you pretty girl. You are a pretty girl. Thank you. Sorry, it's been a while since I've had to read text speak, and it's thrown me for a loop. No worries, you are pretty girl. You are a pretty girl. I'm not in the slightest bit gangster. I should just not. Anywho, more's the point. Whew. Thank you all for watching. So as always with these commentaries, I throw in a little Easter egg word. For those of you who are idiotic and wonderful enough to get to the end of these podcast length, me rambling into infinity videos, I put a quickie little word on the end to be like, hey guys, I know who you are. I know you've watched the end. So this week's word of the day is going to be water bottle. So you can put them in the comments. You can make it as blatant as possible. You literally put the word water bottle, or is it two words, water bottle, in chat, or you can do it subtly. You can hide it in an anagram. Don't do an anagram. I'll never be able to work that one out. But you can do a what's the thing where it's like a vertical poem. You do like water bottle. It'd be like water at the economic railway, bottled on the top level, top level. see, you guys actually have time though. You have time when you type. This is just my brain. Top level, I can't think of a good E-word. I can't do it. It's gone. It's an hour-long video. I can't work it out. You work it out. Come up with a better one than that, though, because that was a horrible acrostic poem. It was a horrible acrostic poem. But feel free to be subtle, non-subtle, put in codes, write a limerick, write a haiku, do a riddle, whatever you wish, whenever you like. You guys have got time. I have not. I've got to go to bed because I've got work in 7 hours. So thank you for watching. Feel free to comment, and I'll see you guys all next time on another commentary. Next time, maybe it'll be filmed directly after I respond to comments, and then put online directly after I respond to those comments. So there's less of this weird gap thing where you're like, why did you respond 6 months ago comments and then 2 weeks later puts the video up. Yeah. Anyway. Awkward sign off, done, dusted, bye.